This topic has got three sections. We are going to talk about CRM, that's part one. The second one is about the business data underlying the CRM, that is section two. And the third one is how best we are going to manage it. Over a period of time, we used to talk about CRM, vision, scope, roadmap, target, business drivers, business objectives, all these things and all. Basically, at the end of it, any organization would like to have a desired features of their CRM, right? So that is what we are going to talk about. So some aspects of it, it depends, it varies from business to business. One of the things is they would like to have their CRM should be available at any time, anywhere. Fortunately, this feature is available in almost all the CRM today, a feature which companies were waiting for so long. But all the major CRM products are in cloud. Second one is they would like to have a great customer experience. This is one of the words like system, computers, customer. We take it for granted, but something which is a little difficult to explain, right? So at this point of time, we will take it as something like customer will feel happy to do the business as customer experience. During the course of the presentation, we won't define, but we will at least try to make this is what it's about customer experience, right? The other aspect is meaningful insights and analytics. Everybody talks about analytics and insights and data driven and using the right data. The idea is we do not want to load data from somewhere else. You would like to capture it at the source so that the entire thing is data driven. And also the integrity of the data is maintained. Whatever is generated out of this analytics should be meaningful. And the main business drivers about any CRM is the bottom line should increase, right? Increase in sales or improve your services. Of course, there are other business drivers also possible. It can be a transformation. It can be a merger and acquisition, or company would like to follow a uniform process. So there can be several other reasons for that. But two of the main thing is you should have an improvement in sales as well as improvement in the service. CRM to ERP integration, this is of course it's essential today if you are using ERP. There are certain businesses where ERP is not really required. It can be a service oriented or it can be totally different than manufacturing, and it can be a financial operations. So in which case, yes, fine, you don't need an integration. We are not talking about ERP itself. But if there is an ERP and if you are using CRM, you obviously need to have it. This becomes all the more complicated when there are multiple CRMs and multiple ERPs which are there around the world and all under the same organization. Other thing is about user experience. Now, user experience is slightly different from what we are talking about customer experience. This is not the same one like earlier people call user-friendly systems and all. This is basically an user adoption of CRM. You really look at it, CRM is one application on which the sales user never gets any benefit out of it. In fact, all the benefits goes to somebody else, and then they become a glorified data entry operators. So for a very long time, it's very difficult to make a salesperson to use the system. They tried all sorts of things to use it, and then salespeople, as usual, they find all excuses not to use the system. Should be a smooth transition. In almost all my implementations, whether it's a CRM or ERP, I heard one thing which is very clear from the very top management, that they do not want to have any disturbance in their billing cycle or the revenue or the outside world. So they want to have a smooth transition from wherever they are to their desired destination. Of course, whatever they have got should be scalable, adaptable to changing business needs. It can be opening new stores, new manufacturing facilities, new business lines, right? So these are the major ones. There can be a combination of all these things which will be required. So we will take this. This is what we would like to have as part of my CR, right? In order to know a little more about it, not only the destination is important, how we have started with all these things, the CRM landscape which is available today. So let's fast track back to the year 2000. Before 1998, there was nothing called CRM. CRM word was not there. For 3 decades, companies were very busy on cleaning up their things about and enterprise resource planning. They got almost like a meaningful kind of an applications where they talked about order to cash, procure to pay, plan to produce, design to deploy, enter to exit, record to report, all kind of business processes so that they can automate all aspects of it. After doing all this, they just looked outside and they saw there is something called a customer. And that customer is identified just by a customer ID in their system. At the best, all the ERP systems, including SAP, Oracle, or PeopleSoft, they had something called sold to customer, billed to customers, and shipped to customers. Little more, they used to say that we can have a multiple bill to and multiple ship to and multiple addresses. That's all they had about a customer. All of us are still customers, and still companies are trying to find out who is this customer is about. Is it a customer, or a consumer, a partner, stakeholder, dealer, or a hierarchy of customers, a global organization? Still companies are figuring it out. And then what are they trying to sell? They used to sell whatever they manufacture, they will stock and sell. They were very comfortable with that. But today, it's not only that, there is some group of items they sell and some items which are configured specifically to the customers, right? And we also have services, warranties, parts, or some once-off items, or in terms of pharmas and other things, you also sell samples. So this brings into new type of business models which were evolving. And that time they looked at it, the entire ERP covers so many functionalities except sales, marketing, and to some extent service is already covered in this, but not to that extent. So they thought that they will put all these things together, and along with that, the portal also started developing the internet and other stuff. So this is how the CRM, right? So we are talking about 3 major functions: sales, service, and marketing. On the ERP side, we basically talk about human resources, financials, the entire thing on the supply chain bucket, which includes order management, purchase order, logistics, planning, inventory, production, projects, and any other information, warehouse management, all of them bundled together. And the major data which are involved are chart of accounts, resources, and several other entities. In these functionalities, when they were trying to see, they basically meant that it should be for reaching a customer, offering something through the customer, or serving a customer. So everything should be oriented around the customer. So they wanted to give a new name to it, so they called it as account. Along with that, they developed e-commerce and social media. Everything got more and more rings around that. But if you look at the other point of view, most of the CRMs, you'll always talk in circles because it's all centered around the customer. And there is nothing like a linear business processes involved. It's about you are around the customers, our customer is around you, right? So after all this, they found the ERP generates so many transactions of sales orders, shipments, repairs, and all. For a customer, if I want to know, if I want to have a proposal with a customer, I would like to see what kind of opportunity I have with this customer, right? Is there any other problems which is currently being looked into it? How much order we have already got from here? Is there any outstanding onto that? So they thought that they would like to have a single view of the customer. So it started with a single view and it ended up calling about a customer 360. Almost all the CRM implementations, this feature is one of their essential part. They would like to have a customer 360. And as per SAP, only 10% of the customers are able to effectively have a customer 360, meaning for a customer, all these things where they are able to see it at a time or not. But even if it is not, they are trying to do it. But if you see from the other side, it's talking about one customer. Actually, what they need much more than that. They need to know about how much we have sold, what quantity, what kind of a value, what's the ratio between last year to this year compared to last quarter to this quarter for a period or inside the territory, or a hierarchy of the territory, or for a specific account segments, through which channels they are selling, what kind of a product groups. There are multi-dimensional. So you have a multi-dimensional analysis of the facts which are required, and you must be able to drill down as well as drill up. So a lot of developments are around. Even now it is there. So tools, the moment as soon as you know the problem is crystal clear, you have all technical tools, the technology were there behind it. Now comes the word customer experience. So far we are talking about CRM, only those which are effectively being carried out right now. There were a lot of other functionalities which people have taken, dropped in between, including loyalties and other things. I'm not going to talk about that, right? So we are going to talk about the customer experience part of it. So if we really look at anytime, anywhere feature, it was a very essential feature. Fortunately, it's available in all CRM systems. And they would like to offer a dynamic and personalized offering. It's not like what you are making you like to sell, rather what the customer would like to see. One step further, what the customer is searching for is something which what Google is able to do. And similarly, if you're talking about a dynamic offering, is at that point of time, this customer is interested in this product. Whether you're talking about a digital marketing, that's a dynamic offering. Personalized offering. Now, if you talk about YouTube, if you keep on using YouTube for a while, then the YouTube comes out with certain things to say, hey, this is what you'll probably like it. That's part of the things. So it's not applicable only those kind of a consumer aspects. Even on manufacturing, even on engineering, the last stage of manufacturing is kept aside and it is configured to the personal interest of that particular consumer. It can be a major appliances, or it can be any equipment which goes inside into an organization. Also, the experience around an interaction is equally important. The interactions is a very common word so that it can group almost everything what we are talking about. Whether you are sending some information to the customer or what the customer responds from it. So the entire interactions of the customer is the interactions experience. And also, omni-channel experience. If the customer talks in the social media, companies were hurriedly responding to them saying that, yeah, we have to attend to them. So what was the effect? It was a negative effect, because the moment they understood that this company will respond, if I put it in social media, people were putting all sorts of things on social media, and companies have really had a very bad experience on all those. But omni-channel experience is a uniform experience, whether the customer is connected through email or writing to you or through social media or through any other things. Your message is common, right? Their experience is common. And in case they have issues or they are talking about any service, it should be a first-time resolution. This first-time resolution is also interesting. Some companies, they put so much effort onto calling what is first-time resolution. There are companies who create tickets and close the tickets on the same day. Great. But they happen to reopen it on the next day because it's not even complete. I have a classical example between Oracle and PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft, once you open a ticket, it never gets closed unless it's really done. In Oracle, generally it gets closed on the same day saying that contact so and so, it's done. But my problem is not totally solved, right? So it should be a total resolution for the customer. In effect, we are trying to establish a trust for the customer. These are the things which means customer experience. So if you are talking about great customer experience you are able to establish, if you are able to establish all these things together, not in silos or isolated or one high, one up, your message, your experience should all make the customer feel happy and would like to do, like to come back to you to do the business again. So you establish a trust on that. Over a period of time, these analytics also have created so much of data. What they found is, if I have all these tools and then I have to drill down and roll up and all these things, it's so difficult for me. Why can't the system find out itself? So why can't the system tell me, oh, this is what it is? So they can predict this is what the customer behavior can be. Or like a data mining, it should tell me, okay, during this time, but this particular product in this particular channel, there is a shift which is happening, which will have impact on that. And one step further, the machine should learn automatically or with my assistant saying that based on these available facts and figures and data, it should do more and more. So this is what is currently going on. And in that process, we have generated so much of data and other things. So handling of the big data becomes an issue. And also IoT becomes very important because you do not want to have, if you really remember, they want to have everything data driven, not like somebody else enters it. They would like to get the source data directly attached from all the devices. I would like to bring one point here about this big data and other things. When one of the CRM implementation, we had close to, at the field level, 3,400 attributes. When we revamped it, for example, a sales user, if he wants to enter some information, it takes practically 2 to 3 hours to enter one transaction. We revamped it and then we found we need only 340. Almost 90% of the attributes is useless and people do carry it along with that. So that brings us to the next topic of what is the business data underlying it. So if you look at CRM today in this particular screen, you see major functionalities like sales, service, marketing, e-commerce, social media, analytics, customer 360, customer experience, all this predictive analytics. This is the full framework right now. And how is it all has happened? Long back, Siebel started with sales in year 2000, and then it was peaking up around 2008-10, and it had its natural death around 2015. But currently, Oracle able to put all these things and then calling it a customer experience, where they've got multiple products because they got Oracle Sales Cloud, Oracle Service Cloud, Oracle Engagement Cloud, Field Services Cloud, and similarly for Marketing Cloud. So they've got several products for this. That is on the Oracle side. And on the SAP side, SAP came out with a thing called SAP CRM in 2012, and then in later, that's a good product, of course. Then they had Hybris, they bought it, and now it's called C4 HANA, which is quite good in terms of sales and sales and marketing mostly, and not that much of services right now there on that part. In terms of Microsoft Dynamics, it's more of service oriented. It's not that it has to be like that. They are started in 2006, and then in 2012, 15, it picked up. And again, there is a heavy thrust is there now on Microsoft Dynamics. Salesforce started the entire thing in cloud in 2005, and then 2004, and it around 2014 or 15, they acquired more than 150 companies, and they are still the number one on this. Irrespective of any of this, any major CRM has got all these functionalities, and then there is a traction which is going around in development and implementation and a lot of investments which are going on. Because of the size, these are all not like one single program. Either they are all tucked in as transformation programs or separately something for e-commerce, something for social media, something for CRMs, and something for building this analytics and all this. So we are ready to move on to the next section about the underlying data behind CRM. The master data, if you really look at it, are accounts, contacts, products, what they offer. I used a word called offering, which is different from just the product, because offering is what customer would like to have at that point of time. Price list, models and customer assets are generally for the services, right? We'll talk about a little more about these masters after we see the transactions. There are not many major transactions in CRM. There is a lead management, opportunity management, and case management. Leads are basically where you have a potential to sell, right? So you get some pointers that these are places where you are likely to, have an opportunity to sell. So that if already exists is fine. Otherwise, you create those leads by certain campaigns. So targeting towards either a TV ad or a digital marketing or to a particular section. Today, we are talking about campaign even for a selective one single customer. Right? One single customer, I would like to have a campaign from a multiple angles so the same customer reach them onto that. And then you will qualify the lead whether it can be taken further. There are other, not all of them are applicable to all the businesses. In some businesses, lead management may be very important. In some of them, opportunity management becomes very important. So once you qualify the lead, then it becomes an opportunity. That means there is a potential is much more. The probability of sales is much more. So initially start with a lesser probability. As it goes through the funnel, you find the probability starts increasing, right? Or they what they call from stages to stages, they try to move it. This was a major investment when CRM came, the sales part of it. How do I make this selling? If you really look at it, still this option is open for several organizations to see how are we selling it. Are we just calling the customer and selling it, or you are giving a proposal to them, or you are going to show a demo or POC or some other samples you are going to send it, or through somebody else, right? The way you are trying to sell is basically you are trying to go through this funnel so that you will convert it into an order. Many of the organizations, they also have a product called Configure Price Quote. This was the earlier, it was as part of a configurator, which is essentially started around the order management side, and it has been shifted into the CRM side, basically, because you are trying to give proposals also along with that based on what has been configured. So whatever the products you have got, whichever can, like buying a laptop with so much memory, so much of disk drive and other things, so it can configure it subject to certain rules which are set that this and this particular assembly will not go into this sub-assembly, like that. So you can create your configured model, and accordingly a quote can be given to the customer. That finally ends up into a sales order. The difference in the ERP versus here is this transaction, if you really look at it, a lead can get converted into an opportunity, and then you may give a proposal and you end up into a sales order. That is possible. Or customer may directly place an order. That is also possible. Or once you have a lead, without even doing it, as soon as you reach, that person may just say, okay, I will like to place an order, right? Or in between an opportunity, you will get it order, which means it's not like they have to go through these transactions, right? These are different way of stages on which you are trying to track your sales. On the other hand, case management goes through a typical business process. Normally a case you resolve and close at the highest level. I want to talk about a little bit more onto that. As a case, you assign it to somebody. If it is not possible to resolve, you escalate it and then you get it resolved. In other manufacturing and other organizations, it may be associated with whether there is a particular warranty attached with that. This is the customer asset. Do we have information about it? If that is the case, do we need to have a field service agent go there? Or do I receive it through a return material authorization, get it here repaired or refurbished, and then send it back to the customer? And what kind of parts that you have used, what kind of efforts and time that you have used, so that you can invoice whether it's partly under warranty, partly that has to be billed. So you bill it and get the payment back to the from the customer. So this typically follows a business process which goes along with ERP, but not the other two are not the master data. So that brings an important difference between CRM and ERP. If you look at it, in ERP, a customer is a customer of whom where you have already done a business with, right? They are doing currently business with. Whereas here you are talking about prospects who can be your likely customers. You will like to still have information about them. The difference is when there is a customer, you will have all the information very clearly. Whereas a prospect information will be partial. It may not be fully clear, right? And contacts is very essential in several type of businesses. For example, in IT, the contact becomes so important. We get into LinkedIn, you get into others, and most of the CRM gives an option to take the data directly from LinkedIn and post it and all. Now, this contacts data is crucial in a sense because salesperson would not like to share their contact information. So for a very long time, this went on about it, and then finally it got settled into a level where each user will be able to see their own contacts, not else. That brings into another things called my team. So this is different from typically other transactions. This is connected with what is called territories, sales territories. Sales territories need not be like a sales reporting organization. It can be a virtual territory, right? So it depends upon how you want to roll up and report it. How do you want to really handle your sales, right? So that's part of the sales territories. This is again, when you implement it, people implement it differently. People implement lead differently, actually. So they get into different things. And the end of it, when you take an analytics and this, they don't get what they really want. So the territory is sales territory data, which is basically a hierarchy of the regions and other things, how you want to report it, maybe a product as well as this, is split by my transactions, my team's transactions, right? So there, the contacts and other informations are also visible only to the respective teams and respective security which is set up. Again, in ERP, you will have most of the things are called a transaction. Here, I will call this a transition, because it's not really going through a transaction kind of thing. It changes its state from saying that, okay, a lead which gets qualified, an opportunity, the probability gets increased, the opportunity is open, the opportunity is closed, or the opportunity is reopened. So that's all what kind of is the status, but it doesn't go through really like a business process where you step by step the user adds value into it. And typically the business data characteristics, they are all external data. Most of them are unstructured, and you will have partial informations, and you have absolute minimum validations, and the volume is low. This is totally contrast to this. And when it happens to implementation, sometimes people mess it up many times. Actually, they think that validation has to be put in, and then they force some validations, and people are not able to enter that information. There are simple things like a competitor information. They put information when they're putting a opportunity, who are all the competitors, and that becomes an important mandatory value. What do users will do? If they don't know who is the competitor when they're handling that opportunity for the first time. So they enter whichever comes first, and then they put it. At the end of it, your entire data has got only one single competitor in your entire list for all the opportunities, right? So these are the realities, and this is the way it is set up. Actually, why I have put partial and all, the very idea about getting a lead or opportunity is to capture it as early as possible, the moment they get some information. That is how it is supposed to be designed. So we have transactions data, which is basically campaigns, leads, opportunities, codes, cases, service orders, and interactions also, right? So with this, the second section, we are talking about the business data. So we talked about CRM and what kind of a landscape over a period of time it has got developed, what currently people are looking at it, and what kind of an underlying data is there, right? If this is the case, how am I going to manage the data? The business data management is our next section onto that, where I have to basically take it from the source, all this data, and put it here, not dump it. They are not taking this data and then just simply migrating and saying it dumped and then said dumped. It's all tested. That's how it works in most of the cases even today, right? Because it's equally an important characteristics about any implementation, whether you're talking users or process or data, data becomes equally important. We talked very clearly about how the destination vision that the organizations have and what kind of a solutions they have available today and their business data. If you really look at their business data, well, it is unstructured, it is scattered all over the place. It can be because it's a global organization. Some of them are in spreadsheets, some of them uses MS Dynamics, some of them uses old on-premise CRM, some of them use a custom developed one. So there can be multiple sources and multiple formats. They are incomplete. They have acquired over a period of time, right? The very first thing that you would like to govern is your master data. And master data, we are talking about two important ones, accounts and contacts. And the second one is product and price list. When you take accounts, it's not just like, I would like to show you a structure if the time permits, how you would like to have an account structure itself. It's in addition to that, we are talking about products, right? Both these things should be in sync with ERP, right? So accounts and products should be in sync with the ERP part of it. Accounts will have something called prospects, which will not be available in ERP. And some of the accounts which you may call customer, they may also behave as a customer, as a competitor, as a partner, as well as a supplier. A typical example is you take Tata Consulting Services versus Oracle. They are Oracle partners. They also supply some resources for certain implementation, so they become supplier to them. They have their own, we buy certain products from Oracle, or we use certain of their instances. We are their customers, so partner customer. In some cases, we compete each of them where they and Oracle also goes for a proposal, and then TCS also submits a proposal. The height of it, for the same opportunity in one country, they partner it, in another country they compete it, and in the third country they supply some resources. So that's the level of detail that they would like to have in their master data, right? And in terms of products and prices, I would like to add something more on that, because typically over a period of time, all these things, you take a case of a product, which is say a pack of 12, right? Unit of measure kind of stuff. What happens to this unit of measure is, now all applications allow multiple unit of measures. I can sell it as a single each unit, or a pack of 12, or dozens, or hundreds, or thousands. Accordingly, the price can be varying. So it's all possible, all the variances are possible. But the legacy system may not have it. So at that time, what they did was, in the description, they will put it like that. In the everything will have one single unit called each. But in the description, they will say a pack of 100, right? And they simply take this description and transfer it into the target, and they will say the same unit of measure. It goes unnoticed, and they continue to still sell their pack of 100 as, in the description will be written in the unit of measure as 1. You will still see, you will receive some invoices from somewhere where everything will be there on the things on the unit of measure. It will be like 1, and the value will be a single value which is overwritten, because that value cannot be computed, or a discount cannot be applied. Somebody will override it. Now these kind of things which actually hampers the business from its growth, right? So those are all very critical. And similarly, so right now we'll stop at this. We may be running short of time, and we'll go to the next one about the migration part of it. Right? Migration, you will first of all like to extract from all these sources, right? And then you will like to transform it and load it. So you've got a lot of ETL tools which are available today, but I will tell you what is not available. You will like to cross-reference it with the master, saying that if there is a transaction called opportunity, if there is an account which is referred here, or a contact, that information is available here or not, right? It will check against the masters. Then there is something called a list of values. Some calls it list of values, or a pick list, or translate values, or drop-down values. Basically, you have a choice of doing it. Now that you will like to take, one of the thing is, in the olden time, for example, simple thing like, let's take an example of severity and criticality, right? So those two values, maybe in the target, you have got everything is clearly lined up, right? Severity code is there, criticality code is there. Whereas in the source, there is only one value, or the source, there are 3 different ways to handle it. This has to be transformed. So what the consultant does, he puts it low, medium, high, and then put everything as low, medium, high. It gets translated into that. The entire thing gets loaded, all with almost like medium. So end of it, you have transactions of severity or damage code or something, which all have got values called all medium. Doesn't make any sense, even though you have a nice target. This value is so important actually for an organization. Believe me, Apple Apple service part of the CRM is supported by more than 3,000 people, out of which close to 1,200 people are working in TCS. One single value on the drop-down value, if it has to be changed, including a spelling mistake, they don't make it, of course, it has to go through several levels of approval. That's the way they ensure the customer experience. So the list of values, thing which is very simply overlooked, becomes very important for an organization in order to bring a nice customer experience. Third, also, when we are talking about an implementation life cycle, you tend to think data is Okay, data is important. It's fine. You make a task force. You have some couple of people and say you take it and then do it. But what's involved in the implementation cycle is one is the test data. Another, you may take that same data, mask it and do it. So you would like to see what is to be tested, what is to be simulated. That's all fine. It goes through the implementation cycle. Now, why I'm saying what is to be tested is important is because they are so busy testing other things, they overlook certain aspects like this LOVs while testing here. And even while mapping, there are some critical important values. In the legacy system, they store as some text field and a little bit of cryptic field. I have come across in several implementation, there will be a cryptic value. So they will say this is not required to be moved. That is what everybody in the implementation team, IT team will feel because they cannot make it. But to me, that becomes very important. I would like to see what it is. All that we'll do is see how many records carry that value. You will find practically all the transactions have got that value. If that is the case, that is very crucial for the business users, right? So we have to take care of that. That is the what you have to test it, whether such values are clearly visible or you have certain custom fields which can really accept those. Why it happens is over a period of time, you will be able to come out with an enterprise data architecture using these critical values, and that becomes your cataloging, right? So what to test, how to test with respect to data part of it, not the functionality part of it, and how do you arrive at the catalog? How do you manage your master data? How do you really migrate your data, right? These are all part of managing the data part. One more aspect, you would like to visualize certain values. I particularly put certain things like a diamond because it's not that all the time we look at data as just a numbers or figures. I always look at certain things as certain very valuable things. The customer is holding this value and then they would like to have this value translated there. And those are all built into these kind of places like sales cycle, lead times, unit of measure, teams. When you talk all these things, I will tell you, in all the translation, this is not very important for them. They validate on so many other things except these values, because these values either for them nothing is important, so they can put a blank value, null value and translate. But for me, these are important because ultimately the business user will feel very happy only when he sees all these values. He won't be able to tell, unfortunately, right? So if the time permits, I will take you a real life example of what happens from the sales cycle. By the way, whatever I'm talking about, this all has happened in my entire experience. I'm not talking anything out of the blue, right? So you will visualize these kind of a things, what kind of a value which are in the source, and I will like to make sure you will preserve it and take it forward, right? Whichever form will take it forward. The other one is enrich this information. These kind of information like competitors, related opportunities, related cases, these are all important values. If they are missing in some transaction, you like to ask the customer, say, would you like to fill these values? Would you like to enrich these values before sending it? One example I told you about competitor. It can happen that the source system will not have any validation about competitor. But so competitor will be half filled. The name will not be full, it will be partial, right? You can tell them to make it a little bit of, instead of saying it's a pre-validation error, I throw it out, we don't need it. You will rather like to give them an option to correct it. That's one. And cases like related opportunities, you know how crucial it is for one of the big software companies which were giving a worldwide support, implementation and all services and all. They have, for the same company, they have something executed in North America, something in Europe, and something in India, right? But they have no clue. They have, if Oracle, let's say Oracle or SAP is a partner, right? So SAP, they are doing for an SAP project for the same customer whose subsidiary is there in Europe, right? Similar opportunity, somebody else is talking to them in North America, same SAP project, same customer for their parent organization. If they are not related, if they are not able to see it, because on one side, there may be partly they may be doing the implementation, another they may be selling the licenses. So they may not even, the way the organization is structured, they may not even come to know each other. Believe me, some of these organizations, the top 5 or 6, they do more than 1 billion, close to that kind of a thing with a particular partner, particularly SAP or Oracle, right? If they have the entire information available to them, saying that they are doing that much business with them, it's very easy to go and talk to them saying that, look, hey, we are doing partnership at this level, so we need a different thing. But it's not. Even today, it's not possible for them. One, their way they are handling it with different opportunities which are entered into the system, they are different. They have no idea about their related opportunities. And in each opportunity, how the account is being handled. Is it as a customer or a partner or a competitor or a supplier? That also there is no information. And similarly, it will say SAP implementation. And then what else? Now, these are all very important in terms of talking about certain attributes part of it, right? The best we can do is, if there are open 1,000 opportunities, we can at least ask them, try to narrow down and bring them to say a level of, based on some high values, whether they can mark certain things as related opportunities, right? And the last part of it is archiving the data. This is not very crucial for CRM. So in managing this, if you look at it, you have master data management, you have migration aspects, you have testing, you have cataloging, you have visualizing, you have enriching, all these things together in a very integrated, nice manner if you do it. And if you give that much respect to their business data, the target system works very good, right? You feel very happy. And then that's how you achieve a smooth transition to the run their business as usual and enrich their customer experience. Also provide the users that they are not, now worried about, okay, this is partially done here, partially I have to go and look at it somewhere else and all. And any analytics which is taken based on their historical data, which becomes meaningful. And also in the process, you will find that it automatically triggers a seamless integration into that, which will increase their sales and service, right? We are done with our things. So ChainSys has got, over a period of time, they have been focused only on data management tools. So they have purely data management across multiple, CRM ERP systems into SAP or Oracle or any of those, right? They have got expertise on that. Not only that expertise, they also have expertise in basically understanding ERP and CRM, right? So Vishnu, if we have time, I can like to take one example of sales cycle. Otherwise, we can go to our next session on Q&A.
Yes, Rajendran, we can go ahead because we think it's pretty late.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Rajendran. So we'll go ahead and take some time for questions. Just a reminder, please be sure type your questions into your question box in your control panel. And I've got some question here, Rajendran, for you. Ganesh Nar, what automation is available for data migration and data quality improvement while taking legacy customer data to newer modern CRM cloud or on-prem systems?
Can you come again slowly with the question, please?
Okay. So, yeah. So what automation is available for data migration and data quality improvements while taking legacy customer data to newer modern CRM cloud or on-prem system?
Okay. This is much broader question, which really requires much more time to really answer. But if you really ask me in an integrated fashion, it's very difficult to say because there are individually you have ETL tools, which does extract transfer load, but doesn't really meet, in my experience, that has not met that kind of experience. You need have organizations which are like what you are talking about, data zen, data zap and all. We need those, right? So we have dedicated quality oriented, basically one of them, if you over, in all my experience, what I have seen is people bring several tools. The customer brings some tools, right? And then we sign, this is the top of the one. It does one job, right? I have multiple legacy systems, and then we have to take it, and then there is a different type of validations, and then also we have to see transform it. So that type of a total automated way to have everything, there are not many solutions which are available except here data zen. right? Similarly, for quality improvement, you would like to do a pre-validation, post-validations, and then duplicate checking and all. Individually, if you look at it, even the vendor offers duplicate check, but that is only within their own systems. That's not from a legacy system to that. So to answer those questions, ChainSys definitely has got all these utilities because I have tested, I have used it, and I'm not sure about other organizations.
Absolutely. Got it. Also, I've got another question for you. Why can't we use the data migration utilities and tools offered by the CRM vendor?
Yeah, today almost every CRM vendors, they offer their own data migrations actually. So they have their tools, but if you really look at it, they assume that you will have prepare your data in spreadsheets and load it. If you prepare in spreadsheet and load it, then that is dumping the data. It's not data migration. It's not data quality. So our entire webinar is not there actually. So all their tools are today like that one only, whether it's Oracle tool or is it from Microsoft Dynamics or from Salesforce, everyone, they assume you, if you give me in this format, right? If the source is in this format, I can take it. First of all, extraction is not available from multiple legacy sources because the template, standard templates are like the one which is available in ChainSys is not available. And second, the type of validations which are available here, there's not there. That all gives that errors out. Like if you load some data into any of the CRM using their own utilities, it gives a list of errors. After that, you go back and correct and do it. You cannot do, before loading, you cannot do a validation, which is possible with the tools here.
Absolutely. So it looks like we have covered all our questions, Rajendran. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up today?
I would like to thank all the participants for patiently hearing me out. And if you have any feedback, any informations, or anything related to CRM or data migrations or data management, you can reach out to us.
All right. Thank you. Great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. We will
And
email you the recording. Thanks once again joining us today, and we will see you next time. Until then, be safe and be healthy. Thank you, everyone.
thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rajendran.
everyone. Yeah.
Yep.
Bye.